stop for a second and really listen. Because what I'm about to say will go against everything you've been taught. Life is unfair. Not in a poetic, motivational way. Not in a work hard and it'll all balance out kind of way. No. Life is brutally, unapologetically unfair. The people who play nice, who explain themselves, who try to be understood, are usually the ones who get stepped on, ignored, and quietly replaced. You've seen it. The kind person who keeps giving, yet gets taken for granted. The honest one who keeps explaining, yet somehow always ends up looking guilty. The one who tries to clear misunderstandings and only digs themselves deeper into a hole. And you've been trained to be that person. From childhood, you were taught that if someone questions you, you explain. If someone doubts you, you justify. If someone accuses you, you defend. Because that's what good people do, right? Wrong. Those are not virtues, those are chains. Because every time you rush to explain yourself, you are unconsciously accepting something dangerous. That they have the right to judge you. And once you accept that, you've already lost. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He saw what most people still refuse to see today. Power is not about truth, it's about perception. It's about who controls the frame and who is forced to react inside it. Right now, you are reacting. You are explaining. You are defending. And you don't even realize you're being controlled. But here's the shift. What if the strongest move is to say nothing? What if silence isn't weakness, but dominance? What if the moment you stop explaining is the moment you become untouchable? This video will challenge everything you believe about communication, respect, and power. And if you stay until the end, you will never look at conflict the same way again. You will stop seeking validation and start commanding it. These are the kinds of psychological truths powerful people don't openly teach. Not because they're complicated, but because once you understand them, you stop being easy to control. So before we go any further, I want you to make a decision. Not in your head, not silently. Commit to it. Go down into the comments and write this. I don't explain, I control. Because that sentence is not just a comment. It's a contract with the version of you that refuses to be weak ever again. Number 1. Stop explaining your intentions. It sounds wrong, doesn't it? Everything you've been taught says the opposite. Be clear, be honest, communicate, explain yourself so people understand you better. That's how you build trust. That's how you prove your innocence. But look at your life. How often has explaining actually made things better? You explain why you were late, and now you sound like you're making excuses. You explain your decision, and now it looks like you're unsure. You explain your feelings, and suddenly they're being dissected, questioned, and used against you. Here's the brutal truth. The more you explain, the weaker you appear. Because explanation is not neutral, it is a signal that says, I need you to approve of me. I need you to understand me. I need to fix how you see me. And the moment you send that signal, the power dynamic shifts, quietly, but completely. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that power is never given to the person who justifies himself. Power belongs to the one who defines reality, not the one who tries to defend it. When you explain, you step into their frame. You accept their accusation as valid enough to respond to. You become the defendant, and they become the judge. And judges don't lose. So let me ask you something. Why are you still trying to convince people who have already decided who you are? Why are you handing over your authority just to feel understood for a moment? The Machiavellian mind does something different. It withholds. It lets the accusation hang in the air. It doesn't rush to fix, clarify, or justify. It stays still and lets the other person sit in the tension they created. Because silence doesn't beg. Silence doesn't chase. Silence makes people question themselves. And that is where the power begins. Rule 1. Stop treating people like judges. The trap. You've been told that honesty and humility are strengths, that if you simply explain yourself clearly, people will understand you. That if you stay calm, reasonable, and transparent, the truth will win. But in reality, this behavior puts you in the weakest position possible. Because every time you explain, justify, or clear things up, you are unconsciously stepping into a role, the defendant. You are saying without words, "You have the right to question me. You have the authority to evaluate me. I need to prove something to you." And once you accept that role, the game is already rigged against you. The more you try to appear honest, the more you look like you need approval. The more you try to be understood, the more you signal uncertainty. That's the trap. Machiavelli's insight. Niccolò Machiavelli understood a truth most people are too uncomfortable to accept. Power does not belong to the one who is right. It belongs to the one who defines the frame. In The Prince, he implies that perception outweighs intention. A ruler is not constantly explaining himself to his subjects. He acts, and reality adjusts around him. The moment you defend yourself, you abandon your frame and step into theirs. You are no longer the authority. You are the one being judged. And in any interaction, the judge always holds the higher ground. Practical strategy. So, what do you do instead? First, stop answering every accusation as if it deserves your energy. Pause. Hold eye contact. Say less. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Not every opinion deserves a response. Second, control information. Reveal only what is necessary. The less you expose, the less others can use against you. Mystery is not weakness, it is protection. Finally, learn strategic withdrawal. If a conversation is designed to trap you into defending yourself, exit it, change the topic, redirect, or simply disengage. Because true power is not proving your innocence. It's refusing to play the role of the accused in the first place. Rule 2. Silence is not weakness, it is control. The trap. You've been conditioned to believe that silence is dangerous. If you don't respond, people will misunderstand you. If you don't speak up, you'll look weak. If you don't defend yourself immediately, you'll lose. So what do? You rush to fill the space. You explain, you react, you try to fix the tension as quickly as possible. But that reaction is exactly what gives the other person power. Because in moments of conflict, silence creates pressure. And most people are too uncomfortable to hold that pressure, so they break it. By speaking first, you relieve their discomfort, at the cost of your own position. That's the trap. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're actually stabilizing the person attacking you. Machiavelli's insight. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that control is not about constant action, it's about strategic restraint. A ruler does not reveal everything. He does not react impulsively. He observes, waits, and allows others to expose themselves. In power dynamics, the one who reacts loses ground. The one who remains still forces the other to move, and movement reveals weakness. Silence, in this sense, is not absence. It is pressure. It creates uncertainty. It disrupts expectations. It forces the other person to question their own position. And in that moment of doubt, the power begins to shift. Practical strategy. So, how do you use silence without appearing passive? First, master the pause. When someone challenges you, don't respond immediately. Hold eye contact. Let 3-5 seconds pass. This alone will unsettle most people. Second, control your expression. No defensive tone, no nervous gestures. A neutral face signals that you are unaffected, and that is deeply disorienting to someone seeking a reaction. Third, speak only if necessary, and when you do, be minimal. Short, controlled responses. No over-explaining, no emotional leakage. And finally, learn to walk away from unnecessary tension. Not every attack deserves engagement. Sometimes, the strongest move is to leave the conversation unfinished, because silence doesn't prove anything. It forces others to prove themselves, and most people collapse under that weight. Rule 3. Never reveal what hurts you. The trap. You've been taught that vulnerability builds connection. That being open about your insecurities makes you human. That if something bothers you, you should express it. But in the real world, especially in conflict, this becomes a liability. Because the moment you react emotionally defending your intelligence, your character, your intentions, you are exposing something far more valuable than the truth. You are revealing your weak points. When you say, "I'm not stupid," you don't prove intelligence. You reveal that intelligence is your insecurity. When you say, "I'm not a bad person," you don't prove morality. You reveal that your identity depends on being seen that way. And once people see where you're sensitive, they know exactly where to press next time. That's the trap. Honesty without control becomes self-exposure. Machiavelli's insight. Niccolò Machiavelli warned that a ruler must never be fully known. Why? Because what can be known can be predicted. And what can be predicted can be controlled. In power dynamics, transparency is not always virtue, it is often vulnerability. The more you reveal about what matters to you, what offends you, what triggers you, the easier it becomes for others to manipulate your behavior. Machiavelli's philosophy is simple but brutal. If your enemy knows where you bleed, they don't need strength to defeat you, only precision. And most people hand over that precision freely, through emotional reactions. Practical strategy. So how do you protect yourself? First, control your reactions. When something hits a nerve, do not show it immediately. No defensive tone, no sudden explanations. Let the moment pass without giving away what it touched. Second, limit emotional transparency in hostile or uncertain environments. Not everyone deserves access to your internal world. Choose carefully who gets to see your vulnerabilities. Third, develop neutral responses. Instead of reacting, observe. Instead of correcting, deflect. A calm, interesting perspective reveals nothing and protects everything. And finally, do your internal work privately. Know your insecurities so deeply that no one else can weaponize them against you. Because true strength is not having no weaknesses. It's making sure no one else gets to see where they are. Let me ask you something. How many times have you explained yourself, only to feel even smaller afterward? How many times have you tried to be understood and ended up being questioned even more? And right now, be honest, are you still reacting to people, or are you controlling the frame? Because if you're still explaining, still defending, still trying to fix how others see you, then you're not in control. You're being played. So pause for a second and decide who you're going to be from this moment forward. Go down into the comments and write this: I don't react, I control. Make it real. Because the next rules will only work if you're ready to stop being the one who responds and start being the one who defines. Rule 4. Agree and destroy the attack. The trap. Your instinct when attacked is to resist. Someone labels you wrong, unfair, exaggerated, and your immediate reaction is to push back, to correct, to defend your image, because you believe that if you don't fight it, it becomes true. But here's what you don't see. The moment you resist, you validate the attack. You signal that the accusation is serious enough to deserve your energy. You step into their narrative and start arguing inside it. Now you're no longer in control, you're reacting. And worse, you become predictable. Defense is expected. Defense is easy to manipulate. Defense is weak. That's the trap. You think resistance protects you, but it actually traps you inside their frame. Machiavelli's insight. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that direct confrontation is rarely the smartest path. A skilled strategist does not meet force with force. He redirects it. Power is not about opposing every attack. It's about dissolving it before it gains momentum. When someone attacks you, they are not just throwing words. They are applying pressure, expecting resistance. That resistance is what gives their attack shape, weight, and impact. But if there is no resistance, there is nothing to push against. Machiavelli's philosophy in action is simple. If your enemy swings and hits nothing, they lose balance. Practical strategy. So instead of resisting, you do something unexpected. You agree and amplify. Not in submission, but in control. If someone says, "You're selfish," instead of defending, you respond calmly. Yeah, I can be, probably more than people realize. Or even exaggerate it slightly with a composed tone, maybe a faint smirk. What happens? You remove the tension. You strip the accusation of its emotional charge. You show that it doesn't threaten your identity. Now they have nowhere to go. Second, stay emotionally flat. No anger, no urgency. The power of this move comes from your detachment. And finally, choose when to disengage. If the person keeps pushing, don't escalate. Let the conversation die naturally. Because when you agree without insecurity, you don't lose. You take their weapon and make it useless. Rule 5. Never answer questions that put you below. The trap. You've been taught that answering questions is a sign of honesty and respect. If someone asks you something, especially in a tense situation, you respond. You explain your reasoning. You justify your behavior. You try to be clear and mature. But look closer. Not all questions are neutral. Some questions are traps. Why did you do that? What were you thinking? Who do you think you are? These are not requests for information. These are power moves. And the moment you answer them directly, you accept the role they're assigning you. The role of the one being judged. That's the trap. You think you're communicating, but you're actually submitting. Machiavelli's insight. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that in any interaction, roles define power. There is always a hidden structure, the one who questions and the one who answers. The questioner leads, the answerer follows. A ruler does not constantly explain his decisions to his subjects. He does not sit there, justifying every move, because the one who explains lowers his status. Power belongs to the one who sets the direction of the conversation, not the one who reacts to it. If you are always answering, you are always one step behind. Practical strategy. So what do you do when faced with a loaded question? First, don't answer immediately. Pause. Break the rhythm. Most people expect instant compliance. Your hesitation alone disrupts their control. Second, redirect with a question. If someone asks, "Why are you always late?" Instead of explaining, respond calmly. "Why does that bother you so much?" Now the frame shifts. They are no longer evaluating you. They are explaining themselves. Third, stay composed and analytical. Your tone should not be defensive, it should be curious, almost detached, like you're observing them, not reacting. And finally, know when to disengage. If the conversation is clearly designed to corner you, don't play along, change the topic, or walk away. Because the goal is not to win the argument. It's to never step into the role of the one being interrogated in the first place. Let me ask you again. When someone questions you, are you still rushing to answer? When they corner you, are you still trying to explain your way out? Or are you starting to see the pattern that every reaction pulls you deeper into their frame? Because right now, there are only two roles in every interaction. The one who reacts and the one who controls. Which one are you? Be honest. Are you still giving away your power in small moments, quick explanations, emotional reactions, unnecessary words? Or are you finally stepping back, observing, choosing when to speak and when to stay silent? This is where the shift happens. So lock it in. Go down into the comments and write this. I choose silence over submission. Make it deliberate. Because the next rules will push you even further out of the privichka to react and into a position where people can no longer read, predict, or control you. Rule 6. Admit the fact. Reject the label. The trap. You've been taught to defend your reputation at all costs. If someone criticizes you, you push back. If they point out a mistake, you explain why it wasn't your fault. Because in your mind, admitting anything negative feels like losing. But here's the problem. When you deny everything, you look insecure. When you fight every point, you look defensive. And the more you resist, the more aggressive the other person becomes. Why? Because resistance feeds the attack. You're giving them friction to push against. You're turning a small issue into a full confrontation just to protect your image. That's the trap. You think denial preserves your identity, but it actually makes you look weaker. Machiavelli's insight. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that true power is not fragile. A strong ruler does not panic when flaws are exposed. He controls the narrative by choosing what to accept and what to ignore. Power is not about appearing perfect. It's about being unshaken. When you calmly accept a fact, you remove its emotional charge. But when you refuse the label attached to it, you protect your identity. This creates confusion. Your opponent expects resistance, but finds none. They expect emotion, but get control. And in that moment, their attack collapses under its own weight. Practical strategy. So here's how you apply it. First, separate fact from insult. If someone says, "This report is wrong, you're incompetent," don't treat it as one statement. It's two. A fact, the report has errors. A label, you are incompetent. Second, agree with the fact calmly and briefly. You're right, there are mistakes. I'll fix them. No excuses, no over-explaining. Third, completely ignore the label. Do not defend it. Do not react to it. Let it hang and die on its own. Finally, stay grounded. No emotional tone, no irritation, just controlled acknowledgement and forward movement. Because when you can admit reality without accepting humiliation, you demonstrate something rare. Unshakable confidence. And that is far more powerful than being right. Rule 7. Kill the need to be understood. The trap. You've been taught that being understood is everything. That if people just see your intentions, everything will be okay. That clarity leads to connection. That explaining yourself is the path to peace. So you chase it. You explain your tone. You clarify your actions. You try to make sure no one misunderstands you. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The need to be understood is a form of dependency. Because the moment your peace relies on how others perceive you, you've handed them control over your emotional state. Now they don't even need to attack you directly. All they have to do is misunderstand you, and you will rush to fix it. That's the trap. You think understanding brings power, but it actually makes you controllable. Machiavelli's insight. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that a powerful figure is not easily defined. Why? Because what cannot be clearly understood cannot be easily manipulated. A ruler does not waste time making sure everyone gets him. He acts, he moves, he lets people interpret, and those interpretations often work in his favor. Power is not about being fully seen. It's about being impossible to pin down. The more you try to control how people see you, the more you expose your need for validation, and that need is weakness. Machiavelli's philosophy is clear. If you require approval, you can be controlled. If you require nothing, you become untouchable. Practical strategy. So, how do you break this need? First, allow misunderstanding. If someone misreads your intent, but it doesn't affect your outcome, let it be. Not every perception needs correction. Second, stop over-explaining. Say what is necessary, no more. No emotional add-ons to make sure they get it. Third, detach your identity from their opinion. Who you are is not defined in that moment, in that conversation, or in their mind. And finally, build internal certainty. When you are clear about yourself, you no longer need external confirmation. Because the moment you stop needing to be understood, you stop being controlled. And that is the moment you become truly free. Take a breath and look at yourself now. You see it, don't you? The pattern, the game, the invisible structure that has been controlling your reactions your entire life. You thought you had to explain. You thought you had to defend. You thought you had to be understood, to be respected. But now you know the truth. The moment you explain, you lower yourself. The moment you react, you give away control. The moment you seek validation, you become easy to manipulate. And now, you are no longer blind to it. You see the trap before you step into it. You feel the urge to react, and you hold it. You hear the accusation, and you don't rush to answer. This is the shift. You are no longer the one being judged. You are no longer the one trying to prove. You are no longer the victim of other people's perceptions. Power and respect are not given, they are taken. And for the first time, you are starting to take them back. But understanding this is not enough. If you go back to your old habits tomorrow, explaining, reacting, seeking approval, then nothing changes. This only works if you apply it, if you live it. So, if this opened your eyes, do 3 things right now. Hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who is constantly being underestimated, misunderstood, or controlled because they need to see what you just saw. Now we seal this. Not with information, but with a decision. Go down into the comments and write this. I control my destiny. Write it like you mean it. Because that sentence is not just words. It is a line you draw between your old self and the person you are becoming. A person who does not react impulsively. A person who does not seek permission. A person who cannot be easily read, controlled, or broken. Stay sharp, stay aware. Because the world will keep testing you. It will try to pull you back into old patterns. It will try to make you react. Don't. Hold your frame. Protect your silence. Control your presence. And one day, soon, when everything in your life starts to shift, your future self will thank you.